The world's richest man is in the news again. This time due to his offer to purchase Twitter, the microblogging site used by more than 200 million people across the world. Days after purchasing a nearly 10% stake in Twitter and refusing to be part of its board, Elon Musk has proposed an all-cash offer to buy out Twitter. Some experts believe that the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, who has 80 million Twitter followers, refused a seat on Twitter board because he would have had to limit his stake to just 14.9%. Obviously, he had bigger plans. His proposal to purchase Twitter has shocked many. His proposal values Twitter at $43 billion, a 38% premium to the share price on April 1, the last trading day before his 9.1% stake in the platform was disclosed. The 50-year-old said he has sufficient assets to pull off the acquisition, adding that he has a plan B if Twitter's board of directors rejects his offer. He is worth $251 billion according to Bloomberg's calculations. But most of that wealth is tied to his stake in Tesla. So to get the $43 billion, Musk may have to sell the Tesla shares or he may opt for borrowing against the shares. Meanwhile, according to a Reuters report, Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal has told his employees that the company was not being held hostage by news of Elon Musk's offer. Agrawal reassured his employees, saying that we as employees control what happens. A self-described free speech absolutist, Musk had slammed Twitter when it had censored Donald Trump 2 days after the attack on the US Capitol. Musk had tweeted that technology companies of the US shouldn't be acting as the de facto arbiter of free speech. For long, he had been advocating for uncontrolled internet. The billionaire has been outspoken about the changes he'd like to see at the social media company. He wants Twitter to open source its algorithms and minimize interventions and policing content. He said it was quite dangerous to have tweets be mysteriously promoted and demoted and have a black box algorithm. In March, he ran a poll asking users whether the site adhered to the principle of free speech.
It's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech where all, Twitter has become kind of the de facto town square. It's just really important that people have both the reality and the perception that they are able to speak freely within the bounds of the law. So one of the things that I believe Twitter should do is open source the algorithm and make any changes to people's tweets. If they're emphasized or de-emphasized, that action should be made apparent so anyone can see that action has been taken. So there's no sort of behind-the-scenes manipulation, either algorithmically or manually.
Odds are stacked against him. But what if Musk succeeds in buying Twitter? How will it shape his and that of the microblogging site's ties with India? Musk has had multiple run-ins with the Indian government in the past. 2 years after he first announced that Tesla would come to India, this January he said the company was still working through a lot of challenges with the government. Musk had made no secret through Twitter that India's import duties of up to 100% on electric vehicles are among the highest in the world. Tesla had asked for a sharp reduction in import duties as a condition for entry, but India was not too impressed. Government officials said Musk cannot demand duty reduction without committing to manufacturing in India. His problems with the government extend to SpaceX, which runs Starlink. The satellite broadband service provider was pulled up by the Department of Telecommunications recently for offering Indian customers pre-booking opportunities. DOT put out an advisory warning subscribers that Starlink did not have a license to operate, violating telecom rules. And at the start of the year, SpaceX had to announce that it was returning to over 5,000 customers $99 each that they had paid for pre-booking. While on the other hand, the regulatory environment for social media companies has toughened in India, which last year introduced new digital rules. India is Twitter's third largest market, behind the US and Japan, with more than 20 million users. Twitter was engaged in a standoff with the Indian government last year when it refused to fully comply with an order to take down accounts and posts accused of spreading misinformation about farmers' protests. It argued that some requests were not in line with the Indian law. In the following months, it had blocked several tweets and accounts at the government's demand, including tweets that were critical of the government's handling of the pandemic. Last May, Twitter expressed concern over freedom of expression in India, after the Delhi police visited its offices for adding manipulated media label to a BJP leader's tweet.
Let's look at a scenario where he does take over. I'm pretty certain, even though one can never be 100% sure, that he will be definitely pushing for free speech, because he's announced everywhere that that's his main motive to, in any case, own Twitter. Now, no government likes absolute free speech. No government in the world. The Indian government is no different. And in any case, the Indian government is particularly sensitive to criticism. In the past, while Twitter has taken certain bold steps, including blocking Trump, for some reason, I think it decided to back off. When it came to the Indian government. But I think that was then. In case Musk takes over, I think he'll be a different cup of tea. There is definitely likely to be friction if the government sees him as a threat, particularly if he's controlling a platform as powerful as Twitter, which to a large extent is used by everyone from the top to shape public opinion. He will definitely be seen as somebody who'll threaten the government. Once he's seen as a threat, then obviously he can expect some sort of a blowback from the government, which will impact also Tesla and Starlink.
In February, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Minister of State for Electronics and IT, called for global coordination to make big tech players accountable to communities. Chandrasekhar said the government's attempt to create some sort of sanity, rules, and accountability is being spun as a challenge to free speech. How Musk pursues his vision of getting Twitter to adhere to his free speech principles while satisfying the local regulations and the demands of the government will be an interesting balancing act to watch.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.